to resist the pull of sleep. He closed his eyes as Fitz and the tall man began talking. Max roused at the mention of his parents' names, followed by something rather alarming, something that couldn't possibly be true. He tried hard to fight off the Sandman to hear more, but seconds later, Max too was fast asleep. Chapter 2. ILZHBAFK. Kensy scraped her hair into a ponytail and sat down at the end of the bed to put on her shoes. Somewhere in the building, a grandfather clock began to chime. She counted the bells in her head and was surprised to discover how late it was. She'd been up for ages and had attempted to wake Max a couple of times already, but it seemed the boy could sleep through an earthquake this morning. Unlike her brother, who was usually a light sleeper and early riser, Kensy only had two speeds: full tilt and out cold. The second she was awake, Kensy needed to get out there and be amongst it, wherever it happened to be. Right at that moment, the girl couldn't wait a minute longer. She marched over to pull back the heavy brocade drapes, flooding the enormous room with sunlight. "No way!" she breathed, her green eyes the size of dinner plates. Kensy quickly unlatched the window and swung it open, drinking in the view. Directly below her was a red gravel pathway, and beyond that, a gigantic fountain surrounded by low hedges laid out in a geometrical pattern. Trees resembling oversized lollipops stood in a line along the top terrace. On another level, accessed by one of at least 3 sets of stone steps, were flower beds still in bloom. Past the garden were rolling green fields dotted with frothy white sheep, and a shimmering river meandered through it all. Over to the right, Kensy could see a high stone wall, and to the left of the main drive, a thick woodland. She thought the scene looked more like a painting than real life, and it was all just begging to be explored. "Okay, that's it." Kensy shut the window, then slid across the polished timber floorboards and leapt onto her brother's bed. "Max," she said, jumping up and down, "you have got to see this." The boy rolled away and pulled the covers over his head. "This place is incredible. The garden, it's gorgeous, not to mention that you could do laps in the bathtub. Mum would love it," Kensy prattled, her words tumbling out like a waterfall. "Anyway, you need to get up. I'm starving, and someone has locked us in our room." Max resurfaced, pushing himself up against the cloud of pillows. "What do you mean we're locked in?" he yawned. The door was probably just stuck. His sister was prone to exaggeration and enjoyed nothing more than to imagine the most outlandish scenarios, for which there was usually a perfectly rational explanation. "I mean exactly what I said," Kensy replied, continuing to jump. "The handle won't budge. Seriously, who locks a door from the outside? What if there was a fire? I have half a mind to call the concierge and give them an earful. And where is Fitz? He never lets us sleep in this late. It's after 9 o'clock. Max frowned and reached for his spectacles. His sister's suitcase had already exploded halfway across the room. Although it came as no surprise, it still bothered him. Max hopped out of bed and sidestepped a pile of underwear, resisting the urge to tidy the mess. "I'm having a shower first, then I'll deal with the locked door," he said, grabbing some clean clothes and his toiletries bag. "And can you not jump on my bed with your shoes on?" Kensy fell back onto the duvet with an exasperated groan. Ugh! Her brother always took forever to get ready, which was probably why he always looked as if he had stepped straight from the pages of a magazine, while Kensy mostly looked as if she'd been dragged through a bush backwards. It went without saying that Max took after their mother, who often gently suggested that her daughter should become better acquainted with a hairbrush. Kensy leapt up and consoled herself by hunting around the bedroom for a solution. She tried the 2 mahogany tall boys first, then the bedside cabinets, the fancy inlaid dressing table, and lastly felt around every single floorboard to see if any of them were secret compartments in disguise. When she didn't find what she was looking for, she